Hey everybody, this is GGB. Today we're going to be talking about the games that were going on today and not yesterday because I'm a winner and didn't record yesterday. Ciao! To be honest, I had work yesterday on Friday, and I didn't feel like filming. Plus, on top of that, there were no ranked games yesterday other than Loyola Chicago, and that's a tournament game. I'm not covering tournament games. I'll cover March Madness, but I'm not covering individual conference tournaments, which means next week, you're going to have 0 videos from me. Yay. But let's get straight into this thing. In the ACC, we have 2 pretty important games if you're looking at it. Now, Florida State needs the dub here. They need the W. Wait, what do you guys think of my W? I think it looks pretty good. I think I've perfected the W. I think it looks pretty great. But some people don't like it. What losers they are. But if Florida State was to lose today to Notre Dame, if Notre Dame was to upset them, then Virginia would take the lead in the ACC, which is interesting if they win today. Now, they play a tough Louisville team. And it's just a weird thing. Louisville has a chance to do something really good. If they win today against Virginia, they get 3rd place. Now, it's not horrible for Virginia Tech. They move out of 3rd into 4th, which that game earlier in the year has really turned to bite them in the butt. But if Louisville loses today, they 100% are playing day 2. That's what is important about this game. Louisville can decide whether they get 2-day bye or a 1-day bye. It's very important. Plus, on top of that, if they do lose today, like 100% Georgia Tech's moving in their spot. So if you're a Georgia Tech fan, weirdly enough, a huge Virginia fan today. But Georgia Tech can move into 4th place with the Louisville loss. Now, Clemson and UNC can also move up a spot if they are to win today. Now, UNC has to play Duke, and Clemson has to play Pitt. But as long as those teams win, we could be looking at Louisville dropping from 4th place to 7th place. And that sounds like a pretty huge drop, and that's because it is. It's a huge difference. Huge difference. I think it makes a huge deal for Louisville if you're a Louisville fan today. On the other side of things, we're going to be talking about Notre Dame. Notre Dame can move up a spot if they are to win today, and Pitt is to lose against Clemson. Now, this is a different deal for Pitt. Notre Dame, it's the difference between playing Miami and playing Wake Forest, and Miami's a significantly better team than Wake Forest. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I think right now Duke's in the best position. I mean, if you're an NC State fan, you're a huge UNC fan today. That's all I have to say about the ACC. In the Big 12, West Virginia's taking on Oklahoma State. So West Virginia, with a win, clinches 2nd place in the Big 12. Good for West Virginia. It has a chance to do something pretty great today, considering that Baylor that's pretty much won the division. Now, if you're a Kansas fan, huge Oklahoma State fan today, because if Oklahoma State wins, West Virginia drops to 11-6. You're 12-6. You're 2nd place in the Big 12. It's an important game. If you're a Kansas fan, you're going to be watching it pretty intently, seeing if the Cowboys can come out on top. Weirdly enough, if you're a Texas fan, you're also a huge supporter of Oklahoma State today. You want Oklahoma State to beat West Virginia, and then you win against TCU, I believe, is the next team they play. Not a tough team on Sunday. You can have an 11-6 record. They'll have an 11-6 record. I believe they split their in-conference series, so it'll go down to record. They'll have an 18-8. You'll have a 17-7. I don't know how the math works out on that one, but it'll be a very close, very close matchup. Very close. Make that close. Yeah, it'll be very close to being in 3rd place if you're a Texas fan. That's really all that's going on today. Oklahoma State obviously hoping for a win. With a loss, they fall to 10-8. Not a huge deal, but Texas Tech's obviously hoping for it. Big Ten. Really only 2 big games going on today, but they're pretty big ones. Illinois plays Ohio State, and while Illinois has locked up number 2 seed in the Big Ten, this is mainly just for seeding in the March Madness tournament, plus you can add a pretty big win to your resume if you're Illinois. Ohio State, on the other hand, would really love to pick up the win, get to 13-7, and the hope Purdue loses today against they play Indiana. So pretty big game there. If you're a Purdue fan, gotta win. And then you can hope Iowa loses. If you're an Ohio State fan, obviously you win. You hope Purdue and Iowa lose, and then you can move up to third place, which is pretty amazing, I think. Pretty impressive. I think it's pretty amazing. But that's what Ohio State's hoping for. And Indiana with a win can move to 8-11, but I believe Michigan State beat them last week, and I don't think they've played before last week. So Michigan State already has the tiebreaker, so this game doesn't matter a whole bunch. No, they've beaten them twice, so they've played them twice. It's just Indiana lost by 6 points on Tuesday, and then they lost by 7 points on February 20th. So, just sometimes, unfortunately for Indiana, it's not working out. It has not worked out well for Michigan State. Fortunately for Indiana, though, they've guaranteed themselves not to have to play day one. Because, even if they lose today and Penn State win, they'll have the same in-conference record. And just the fact is, Indiana beat Penn State. They've only played once, and they beat them. It's true. So, Penn State is unfortunately going to be playing first day as a Penn State fan. That's all that's going to go on here today. In the SEC, we have Georgia taking on Alabama and Texas A&M taking on Arkansas. If you're a Texas A&M fan, hopefully you're hoping for a South Carolina losing to Mississippi State. I believe South Carolina plays Kentucky today. You're hoping Kentucky beats South Carolina. And then, if you're a Texas A&M fan, you beat Arkansas, you can move up a spot. Moving up a spot is pretty huge. Moving up spots are important, especially for lower teams. I don't know if the SEC is different, but it seems like a similar layout to the Big Ten. It's 14 teams, so it's almost definitely a similar layout, so it's not a huge deal moving up a spot because it's likely going to be 12 and 13 playing against each other, so it doesn't matter if you're 12 or 13. You're going to be playing the other one anyway, so it's likely going to be South Carolina versus Texas A&M in the first round regardless of who wins and who loses today. So, but if you can move up a spot if you're a Texas A&M fan, if you want the bragging rights. Georgia, on the other hand, is hoping for a Kentucky upset today. Like, if you're hoping South Carolina upsets Kentucky, and then you win today against Alabama, you'll be able to move up a spot past Kentucky. Unfortunately for you, if you're a Georgia fan, I was looking at it, I was like, maybe if Mississippi State loses, they'll have an 8-10 record, you'll have an 8-10 record. But the problem is Mississippi State beat Georgia. I believe they've only played once this year. So that's unfortunate if you're a Georgia fan. Mississippi State, they only played once on December 30th. Mississippi State beat them by 10 points. So that's unfortunate if you're a Georgia fan because you can't really... I don't know what I'm trying to say. You can't really pass Mississippi State since they have the tiebreaker over you. But you can pass Kentucky if you are to win today and Georgia's to lose. Now, Auburn split their record with Georgia, so even if Georgia was to lose today and Auburn was to win, they'd have the same conference record. They'd have split their in-series, and it would just go down to overall record, and a 14-11 record is better than a 13-14 record. So Georgia is where they are at. The best they can do is move up a spot past Kentucky. Moving on to the Big East, there are some interesting things to watch here, okay? Creighton put their head coach on administrative leave. So it's going to be the first time they've played without their head coach. So important thing to watch there. This could be... The Big East is one of the weird conferences where, like in the SEC, I'm pretty positive either Alabama or Arkansas is going to win. In the Big Ten, it definitely seems like Michigan, Illinois, Iowa. Big 12 is definitely going to be probably Baylor, West Virginia, Kansas, that kind of region. ACC, probably Florida State, Virginia Tech is what I'm thinking. There can be some upsets and there could be some shockers. There's definitely some teams. But right now, there's the top two teams in the Big East, Villanova and Creighton. Both of them have so many question marks. And it's not just like, they've been inconsistent. Like, that's what Creighton has been. They've been bad against bad teams. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about inconsistency. I'm talking about Villanova lost Colin Gillespie, their point guard, their star point guard. They haven't played a game without him. They've played half a game without him against Creighton. They've looked lost. Now, Creighton's playing their first game without a head coach. Head coaches are important. They might look lost. I think this is going to be interesting because it's not like they have time to really turn it around, right? It's not like if Colin Gillespie got hurt in January, right, for Villanova, they would have had time to figure out how our offense is going to work without Colin Gillespie. Same with Creighton. If they had gotten rid of their coach in January, they would have had time to figure out what they're going to do. They have one game. They have one game in the regular season, and then they have the tournament. That's why I think if you are a fan of a Big East team that's not going to make it in on their own, you could not have asked for a better thing to happen to Creighton and Villanova, the top two teams, than what has happened over the past few weeks. Villanova is not going to have Colin Gillespie. Now, again, they're playing Providence today. Normally, when Villanova is playing Providence, Villanova is 11-3 right now. Providence is 8-10 in conference. What do you think the spread's going to be? If you guessed 4 points, then you're right. I don't think many people guessed 4 points. Do you know why it's 4 points? It's so low because no Colin Gillespie. It's going to be very interesting. For Creighton, the spread's rather large, and I just don't quite understand it. They're playing Butler. Butler's a scary team right now. Butler's a team that can beat you. I mean, they've proved it. They beat Villanova with Colin Gillespie. They're on a 2-game win streak. They have wins over some quality teams. They have a win over Villanova with Colin Gillespie. They have a win over Creighton. They beat Creighton. So, it's going to be interesting down the stretch. There are some teams that are getting hot at the right time. For instance, UConn's getting hot at the right time if they want to win the Big East. Butler's getting hot at the right time, honestly. They look like a good basketball team. Georgetown's getting pretty hot. So it's going to be interesting going down the stretch. Because no team has a worse... I mean, other if you discount DePaul, the worst losing streak is Seton Hall. Seton Hall's a top team. They're 4th in the Big East right now. So it really is a conference to be won by anyone. I mean, if you exclude DePaul. It's going to be interesting down the stretch, is all I'm trying to say. But Butler can pick up a huge quality win here. If they are to win and Providence is to lose, they can move past Providence. Now, if Providence is to win, they can move to 9-10, and then you can hope Georgetown loses today. Even though they have a 2-game win streak, they play UConn today. You could hope they lose, and then you can overtake Georgetown with, I think, I'm pretty sure 9-10 record's better than a 7-9 record. So you can pass Georgetown with a win if you are Providence. That puts you in the top half of the Big East. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check how many teams are in the. There's 11. So no, never mind. You're not in the top half just because there's not that many teams in the Big East. But you're right behind St. John's. It's going to be interesting down the stretch. Actually, you're right behind Xavier. Definitely going to be interesting. I think Providence is a good basketball team this year, and if Butler plays well, definitely going to be interesting. I mean, even the lower tier teams, Georgetown, Butler, Providence, Marquette, they've all shown that they can beat Creighton and Villanova. Now, mostly just Creighton, but Butler's been able to beat Villanova. So, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. That's all I have to say about it. But who does GGB think is going to pull off the upset today? My answer? The Friars. I think the Friars are a very good basketball team this year, and I'm not just saying that. I really like what the Friars are doing on offense, what they're doing on defense. And not only that, no Colin Gillespie. Colin Gillespie's too big of that part of that offense. Now, I took a little bit of risk here. There was lower spreads on the day. I could have taken Ohio State over Illinois. I could have taken Louisville over Virginia. But I decided to go with a larger spread just because I don't have confidence in a Villanova team without Colin Gillespie because I've seen them play without Colin Gillespie, and it's not ideal. Hey, everybody. This is GGB saying adios, amigos, and go Friars.